two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The wildest Sunday in football is here. Start your day at 8 a.m. with Fantasy Sports Today. Then at 10 a.m., Pro Football Today breaks down every angle before the triple header kicks off. Stay with In-Game Live as we chase those parlays, props, and live bets across all three wild card showdowns. Don't miss a minute. Only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today, Kevin Walsh, Donnie right side, Joe Lisi, Eagles, Packers. Everyone's game of the day somehow here on the desk. I am very excited to watch this game play out. For anybody who has heard me talk about the Eagles throughout this season, you know that I think they are the best team in football. Yes, still while being the most unbiased man in the history of sports media, which is why I've mentioned I found Green Bay to be potentially the most difficult challenge for this Eagles team within the conference. Then I peel back the layers a little bit more, and I don't even want to get to the Eagles side of this game. I got some issues with the Green Bay Packers. If you look at their games this year against playoff teams, swept by the Vikings, swept by the Lions, lost to the Eagles, beat the L.A. Rams, who were without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua in the game, and had a walk-off field goal get them a victory against the Texans at home without the cover in the matchup. Not great. Then I wanted to dive into something that I know, Lisa, you and I have talked quite a bit about off-air around the Green Bay Packers. There are 4 teams in the NFL who have not thrown at least 500 pass attempts. The Eagles, makes sense, Saquon Hurts, the O-line. The Ravens, Lamar, Derrick Henry, got it. The Steelers, well, they're insane. They don't know what year it is. Makes sense. And the Packers, what are they doing? See, Matt LaFleur is a coach that I think is good. I'm not sure he's great. And I'm pretty sure that the most dangerous aspect of the Packers is Jordan Love slinging and bringing. And I don't know why they're out there pounding and grounding, Lisi, because for some reason, this team has run first and second, and I think that's a big mistake.
Good. That's the only thing you and I will agree with on this desk in terms of that. And that's a great breakdown in regards to that. Josh Jacobs was supposed to be the cherry on top for this offense.
Yes.
And instead, he has been the main catalyst of this offense, which makes completely no sense. Now, let's call it what it is. When they made that playoff run at the end of the regular season, Aaron Jones was one of the hottest running backs in regards to the playoffs and end of the regular season. He was averaging around 116.9 rushing yards per game, had a very good game against Dallas, over 100 yards, challenged in the first half against San Francisco, but it was still Jordan Love working off of play action and challenging defenses over the top with the likes of Christian Watson and Jaden Reed and Dobbs and Wicks and all of those young wide receivers, Bo Melton and Heath. We haven't seen that this year, right? Now, Jordan Love has been injured in and out of the season, right? The groin, the ankle, the elbow injury, and maybe that's hindered, I want to say, Matt LaFleur throughout the regular season in building consistency. But if they're going to win this game today, Donnie, they need Jordan Love to get through the 2.25 today, 250+ to challenge that defense over the top. Over the last 5 weeks, Jordan Love has averaged 173.8 passing yards per game. It needs to change today. I think it does. I reluctantly take the points with Green Bay, but I love the over today, guys.
Yeah, you're also looking at Jordan Love probably going to have to do more in the intermediate passing routes here. 21.4 yards per catch. You know what that is? That's Christian Watson. He's not going to be playing today, so you're going to have to do some more damage where those slip screens come in and that yak yardage that you saw a lot in game number 1 in Brazil, but everybody was skidding around like it was an ice skating rink. A lot easier to get that done. Here's the issue that I have with the Green Bay Packers coming into this game, because you guys are right. That was supposed to be the cherry on top. He's been phenomenal. Jacobs has been sensational, but I do believe that opens up the passing game for him today, because I know, Joe, you're looking forward to Love to get through those numbers. I look at it almost as the opposite. I need that running back, Joe. 22, 23 carries, 90-plus yards in this game to keep that Eagles defense honest for when you want to take those deep shots. They're going to be available for you. We'll get to the Philadelphia Eagles in just a few moments, but I like the Green Bay Packers. They're a solid football team. But the one thing I think today is they're not the better football team, but it's the playoffs. Not 7-game series, not 5, not 3. It's one game. Bring your A game. You can beat anybody if you're a quality team, and the Packers are.
That is all true. Again, Green Bay is capable of a big win.
Right.
They don't have any.
No.
I mean, they should have won one of the games against the Vikings or Lions. You had 4 cracks at it. I know they were mostly close football games. I get that. There needs to be a win there. There does. And here's my thing with LaFleur. Again, like you take a step back for LaFleur, right? I mean, he comes out of the gate, right? What was it 13-3, 13-3? Rodgers MVP. Those seasons both ended in complete failure. No other way to slice it. They lost at a conference championship game to Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they didn't even make a conference championship game the next year, if I'm not mistaken, also losing to Jimmy Garoppolo in round number 1. They then, in the final year of Aaron Rodgers, lost a win and in-game on Sunday Night Football. That's very bad. Easily the best win of his career is the one against Dallas last year with Jordan Love. It's great. It happened. They had the Niners on the ropes. You know what that also means? They lost that game. Yeah. Like a lot of people go, oh, they could have won that game. Yeah, they didn't. Does that not bring questions? I don't know. Or we're just, maybe we'll just keep questioning Nick Sirianni, who has multiple 14-win seasons, never lost a home playoff game, already been to a Super Bowl. Maybe that's the guy we'll keep putting on the hot seat. It's wild. It is so crazy. I'm sorry, but it is so crazy to sit sometimes and act like you're the only person in the world who actually sees what's going on. How Sirianni's on the hot seat and Matt LaFleur should get a 14-year contract extension.
But the Philadelphia fan base is putting Sirianni on the hot seat.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of fools
But that's where the hot seat comes. It doesn't. I don't think it comes so much from, the analysts and the experts. Well, some, but a majority comes from the fan base to know how you bowed out last year into the playoffs, right? You had one of the best teams in terms of the NFL. You start 10-1. You knock Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the mouth in terms of the primetime matchup. You win 21-17. You go 1-5 down the stretch. You get blown out by Baker Mayfield. That can't happen today, right? Especially knowing that you won 12 of the last 13 games. Yeah. You're 7-1 in terms of home games this year. They're 8-1, but the one game is in Brazil, right? Yeah. So 7 home games. Those victories they have won by an average margin of 11.1 points per game. They have dominated some teams, better teams in their house. They cannot play down to the Green Bay Packers. And you can make the argument, Donnie, that Matt LaFleur's best coaching job this year came when Jordan Love was out, when they beat with a backup quarterback, Malik Willis, Indianapolis and Tennessee in back-to-back weeks. To say that, wow, he kept that train rolling, because they did play down to the level of competition. They beat Jacksonville by 3 on the road. They beat Chicago by 1 on the road. They struggled against mediocre teams, and against teams in their division, they didn't step up. But now is an opportunity. You have one of the best quarterbacks, potentially top 10 quarterback in Jordan Love. You have to utilize them with those playmakers. Otherwise, they're going to get blown out today.
Yeah, and again, the spread isn't 17.5, 21.5. The spread is, shopping around 4.5 to between 5.5. The expectations are a good game because they're a quality football team. But if we're just being honest on both sides of the football, how do you win in the playoffs? Or how they always used to tell you, play great defense. You know who's number one in the NFL in defense? It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Got to run the ball when it gets cold out there. Eagles have the best running game in football, compounded with that offensive line. The only question marks that are going to pop up in this game, which are almost outside of the X's and O's, is what are you getting out of Jalen Hurts, which I know is unfair. He's played some great playoff games in his career. Last year, they were set up to fail in Tampa Bay. Hasn't played for a couple weeks. The Eagles notorious this year for slow starts. And obviously, as Joe pointed out, the fan bases get a little bit upset. And the Packers, it's one of the few fan bases like, hey, come in. Have a brat with us. Have a beer. We'll invite you right into our stadium. Not on the East Coast here. Understand this, 7-0, 10-0 lead for Green Bay early. Hurts struggling. That crowd is not going to wait and say, hey, boys, let's get it together. They're starting to scream, we want Tanner McKee in the ballgame. Do I think that's happening? No, I don't. But that's the angle that most people are playing when you're trying to knock the Philadelphia Eagles. They have no weaknesses outside of their quarterback hasn't played in a couple weeks. That's it.
You know what's interesting? And this is where the Eagles and Hurts getting injured kind of, throw things a little bit in a disarray, done in the slow starts, right?
Yes.
The last two Hurts games?
Yeah.
Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
if you guys want, I'll just throw for 290. No problem. They scored 10 points in the opening quarter. And then the second game was against the Commanders, and it legitimately looked like they were going to score 50 in that game.
Yeah.
He started 14 points. They had 21 in the first quarter. So, I don't know, this could be 21-0 at the end of the first quarter.
I'll take it.
Buy in. We'll keep breaking it down here on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books up, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The wildest Sunday in football is here. Start your day at 8 a.m. with Fantasy Sports Today. Then at 10 a.m., Pro Football Today breaks down every angle before the triple header kicks off. Stay with In-Game Live as we chase those parlays, props, and live bets across all three wildcard showdowns. Don't miss a minute. Only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Pro Football Today, diving into the props now between the Eagles and the Packers. And we've not really talked a lot about Saquon Barkley yet here on the desk. The one really fascinating thing is the yards per attempt, yards per carry allowed by the Packers this year is very good. Now, they don't have a lot of games against elite rush attacks. They did play Philly. Saquon had 100+. They played the Colts, which graded out pretty well. Jonathan Taylor had himself a pretty good day. So could be a strength of schedule thing. Listen, you don't want to pick every element apart. But what are you, Donnie, expecting today out of Saquon? Is he making your card at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite bets. I do think he scores a touchdown, but I'd be even more remiss to say, you know what? He's going to get the carries today. 19 and a half, 20 and a half. So I didn't check the numbers dated up now, but I took it 19 and a half, tweeted out a little bit earlier this week. The one thing that we understand, Saquon Barkley was rested last week because they understand there's 3 tough games to get to the Super Bowl, then the Super Bowl itself. You wanted to give him that breather after a long season where he's been healthy, which is something he hasn't done much in his career. But understand this today. We're not seeing any Will Shipley carries. Gainwell might get a breather in there for him when he comes out. But this game is going to be won and lost on the offensive line and the running game for the Philadelphia Eagles. If they crank it up where anything you saw last night to what the Baltimore Ravens were doing with Derrick Henry, this could be a bloodbath here where they can just insert their will. Because the one thing teams haven't been able to do, outside of one game really with the Dallas Cowboys, is when the Eagles want to run the football, it doesn't matter if you want to try to stop it. They're coming right through your team at that point. For Saquon Barkley, to me, I would be shocked if he doesn't get 20-plus carries in this game. And as Kevin would laugh, well, then it means he got 14 for 178 yards and 3 touchdowns. They didn't need all those carries. He is going to be a workhorse today for me.
Yeah, he has to be, right? This is why you got him in regards to the offense to take over for DeAndre Swift. And you look at the matchup last year with Tampa Bay, the rushing attack was completely non-existent. They need Saquon Barkley to get over the 103 rushing yards in terms of his prop. A couple of things that stand out for me, rushing and receiving, 1.25 is minus 105, 150 in terms of both, plus 210. I think that has pretty good value today, Kev.
Yeah, Saquon is someone who I think can have a good game. I'm going to try and find a way to, some alts, things like that. But I actually have a Josh Jacobs prop, which is his longest run over 14 and a half. Because, again, so I will bash Green Bay because I think they should throw more than they do. But I would be a fool if I came in and say, hey, Green Bay's going to do what I think they should, and I hope they don't. Also, you are better off running than throwing against the Eagles because it's the best defense in football, but it's led by the best pass defense within the league. I think Jacobs is going to get a workload, but he's not getting there without the long run. The Eagles have allowed 8 of the last 10 opponents, starting running back, to get through that number. You look at Josh Jacobs, he went over that in 7 of 9 before missing it in the Week 17 game, removing Week 18. He didn't get it either. So I think Jacobs is due a little bit to come through on that number. From the Eagles side of it, the guy that stood out for me, I think, Donnie, was the same guy for you, is Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith has a receiving prop, 60-plus yards, call it 59.5 at minus 115. Now, there's certainly context to this, but he has gone through that number in 4 of 5 postseason games. He's played multiple games without A.J. Brown in his postseason career, but he's also, been able to hit through that number in a number of those games. I think Devonta Smith, when he just needs the targets, he just needs the workload. We know A.J. Brown is not 100%. Maybe he's 90, 95, maybe 70. He's not 100. I think that could put Devonta Smith a couple of extra targets his way, Donnie. I think he plays well here against the Packers defense.
I do too, but also understand this late in the week, a little bit of back spasms for Devonta Smith. Now, not all that worried about it. You get some medication in you, you'll be fine come Sunday. But also understand the point here, which the part I'm attacking is not really the 59.5 for A.J. Brown, who's a little bit higher. It's the receptions here, and also the longest target that you're going to catch for a longest reception. I took over 28.5, over 20.5 for Devonta Smith. The simple reason being, how do you stop the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, it's hard to stop them overall. But if you're going to say, well, we're going to play nickel the entire time and only put 7 in the box, Saquon might get 300 yards rushing, which means safeties come down. Linebackers are worried about it. Play action pass. If Jalen Hurts is able to move around in the pocket, sidestep a couple defenders by an extra second or two, that gives you a chance to go downfield. The longest reception is what I'm looking for today, and I love Devonta Smith because you're going to come in worrying about A.J. Brown and both wide receivers. That's the luxury the Eagles have. They have 2 guys that can whip up on man-to-man coverage, and there's going to be some deep targets today coming on that coverage. I like the over in the receptions, particularly the longest one.
It's a good look, and I did have that in terms of Devonta Smith, longest reception. The player that I'm keying on, and you watch Green Bay's defense throughout the year where games where they've built leads or been in matchups, right? Tight end is exploiting them. Evan Ingram, I believe, in the Jacksonville game had a big game. I believe Laporta and Hawkinson stepped up. Even Janu Smith in terms of the second half of that matchup. So Goddard at 35.5 to me, if you're going to take away, or at least try to take away AJ and Devontae over the top. Not saying they can't hit their totals or they can't go through the longest reception, but underneath, especially to move the football, third down situations, you want to move the chains. I think Goddard has great value today, guys.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I also just, one thing we didn't really get to, again, if I tell you this, if it was Dan Campbell, we would have talked about it. Christian Watson got injured in Week 16 against the Lions. Didn't play in Week 17, and then they put him out there in Week 18, and he unfortunately tears his ACL. The pass catcher room comes in a little depleted. The most underrated story in football this year, Jair Alexander, who was a full practice on like a Thursday, and then Friday's like, I don't feel good at all. And he's on IR now. We haven't seen Jair Alexander in forever. There are some key injuries there, but I'm curious, Donnie, was there anybody in the Green Bay pass-catching room that jumped off the page to you?
No. And the reason it doesn't jump off the page, meaning like you're going to focus on this one guy, which, again, I know Joe certainly likes that because you can find some value. Somebody's going to be open. But for me, completely irrelevant from my handicapping standpoint, at least from a prop bet perspective. To me, it's if Jacobs doesn't have a good game, he doesn't need a good game, they're going to get beat down. If Jacobs doesn't score a touchdown, this is one of the best, if not the best, secondary in football. Who is beating them and beating them deep for repeated touchdown catches?
I think it's Jaden Reed, 43.5. Numbers suggest it's an under, but last 7 games, he's only averaged 29.6 receiving yards per game, has been held out of the end zone. But that Week 1 matchup, he abused that secondary. I understand it was Week 1, but I believe he could be the mismatch guy. I altered him as high as 70-plus today.
It'll be interesting to see where Jordan Love goes to when he is allowed to throw the football as opposed to handing it off to Josh Jacobs on first down. And second down in this game. Let's do some Sports Millions pick'em next. Before we get to the Sunday Nighter here, some defensive standouts who could have a big day, who could make some of those game-changing plays. We'll break that down next right here on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game.
Time here for your Sports Millions Pick'em. Yesterday here on the desk, we talked a little bit about the quarterbacks, who could be mobile and who could make a move to go higher than their rushing numbers. Ultimately, just two guys went through, though they did go well through. Lamar, as you'd expect, and a shout out to Joe Lisi, no doubt. I mean, C.J. Stroud's still scooting out there, Joe. He brought the legs yesterday.
He did. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe how many times he ran the football yesterday. But, again, he wanted to take the game over, and you might see that again today in terms of these quarterbacks playing throughout this slate.
It is absolutely true. Again, you're with us right here on SportsGrid Pro Football today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie right side, and Joe Lisi. Today for the Sports Millions Pick, I wanted to take a look at some of the defensive options out there. Who could stand out? Who could surprise and who could really influence the game here? And one of the things for the Philadelphia Eagles, and we talk about the talent for that roster, and some of the guys who are great you expect, Saquon, Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, right? Jordan Mailata. And then there's Zach Bond, who out of nowhere found himself as first-team All-Pro at the linebacker position. If you follow the Eagles franchise, you know that the linebacker position is typically a weakness. I guess it's no surprise that they were able to flip things around this year. It wasn't just the additions of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, their rookies in the secondary. It was having Zach Bond play at this level. Well, today on Sports Millions Pick'em, his tackles plus assists, 8.5. I think that's a higher. Bond flies around to the football, didn't hit this in his last game that he played, which was Week 17 against Dallas. You'd be hard-pressed to find Bond missing this multiple times in a row. Donnie, he's been one of the best for the Birds.
Oh, he absolutely has been. And signed for basically a special team / outside linebacker to rush the passer, who's now been converted into the backers as a middle linebacker. And also, I'm going to say, I'm going to enjoy watching him on the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Baltimore Ravens next year, as they'll probably pay him top dollar at this point. But let's enjoy him here in Philadelphia while you have him. Yes, absolutely. If you're looking for a rock'em sock'em robot game, this might not be it. But there's colder temperatures in Philadelphia with a really good running game on Green Bay. This guy sits right in the middle of it. And also keep in mind, a very astute blitzer too, Joe.
Absolutely. And I think that the Eagles try to take away Josh Jacobs and the rushing attack, which could open up on in regards to even sack opportunities. Yeah. Again, Jordan Davis, and we talk about Jalen Carter in the middle of that. Yeah. You have to take away Josh Jacobs and force the game onto Jordan Love in terms of predictable long third downs. You do that, you can have a slightly similar result to what we saw yesterday with Justin Herbert.
Yeah, you mentioned Jalen Carter, by the way. I think, at the defensive tackle position, right, which is mainly what he plays, it is hard to get that Defensive Player of the Year love unless you are Aaron Donald, who is, some would argue, the best defensive player the league has seen. Jalen Carter, again, I don't want to compare him to Aaron Donald, but, man, that kid is special and makes a huge difference for Philly in the middle. What's interesting is, I think back in recent history and hype around defensive tackles coming out, not many had more than Ed Oliver. Out of Houston, the kid was absolutely special in college. At the pro level, he has been pretty good, right? I think that's fair to say. I think today he's certainly better than the number you can find on Sports Millions Pick'em. How about 1.5 tackles plus assists for Ed Oliver? Threw this in 4 out of 5. The Denver Broncos here could potentially, with their rookie quarterback, lean on the run a little bit more up the middle. Ed Oliver. Maybe the rookie quarterback takes a couple of sacks. Ed Oliver. I think Ed Oliver could surprise today, Joe.
It's a good look. And, again, I don't believe Sean Payton opens up the offense to allow Bo Nix to throw it 30 or 40 times in regards to the matchup. I do believe he tries to run the football. That would go right into the front seven of Buffalo with Ed Oliver. And Bo Nix, we know, is a mobile quarterback, Donnie. Even out on contain, maybe Oliver could rack up a couple of tackles for loss.
No, and also when you're taking a defensive line and maybe a sack prop, you do like the favorite here because the odds are saying, specifically over a touchdown that Buffalo's favored, you're going to probably be passing a lot of that fourth quarter. Pin your ears back and get after it. He's pretty talented at doing that.
He absolutely is. Let me just say, as we get set quickly to break into the game between the Commanders and the Bucs, there is also some very big news around the defensive side of the football for Tampa Bay. Antoine Winfield Jr. makes his return to the Bucs secondary. In my opinion, that's one of the most dangerous players in the league, and also, in my opinion, responsible for one of the coolest moments in Super Bowl history. Him chunking up those deuces in Tyreek Hill's face. By the way, I lost all of my bets in that football game. I don't care. That was cool as it gets. We'll see if he has a moment. Just again, quickly a reminder, Zach Bond, higher. 8.5 tackles plus assists against the Green Bay Packers. Ed Oliver, higher and 1.5 tackles plus assists against the Denver Broncos. We take a quick break right here on SportsGrid and dive into Sunday Night Football next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Sunday Night Football. Let me start by saying, again, the NFL, who at times I've been hard on, what an awesome job picking this game. I did not think they would respect Bucs Commanders. I'd like to think in the room they actually let a gambler in. They go, hold on, let's figure out what game has the highest total. Boom. That's our Sunday night game. Yeah. Big time total here between Tampa and Washington. Baker and Jaden Daniels, two great stories. Call it what it is, right? We can throw, jabs and jokes around, but ultimately, Jaden Daniels in the playoffs. He's had great moments throughout the year. Baker Mayfield's in the playoffs again. Baker Mayfield, sneaky good postseason resume. Wins in Cleveland. Wins in Tampa. Kid gets the job done. Lisi, are you leaning a certain direction today about who's going to get the job done?
I am. I like the dog in terms of the matchup. Now, that being said, let me just say this. You have two of the hottest teams in the NFC. You have a Commanders team that has won 5 straight by an average margin of victory of 7.4 points per game. On the flip side, Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay, even though they got pushed against New Orleans, they've still won 6 of the last 7 games heading into the playoffs, right? They're a 3-point home favorite. This year at home, only 5-4. They haven't just dominated. Now, granted, they did have some injuries to Mike Evans and Godwin, obviously, in the middle part of the season. They got through that, still made it to the playoffs. So we talk about how good Baker Mayfield's been over the last 7 weeks. Average 285 passing yards per game, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Mike Evans, during that span, 95.8 receiving yards per game. But I go back to my guy, Jaden Daniels. I believe he was built for this stage. This is a defensive-minded team, I believe, with their head coach in terms of Dan Quinn. I think they'll have a great game plan in place. I do feel this game trends a little bit lower, under the 50.5, but give me Jaden Daniels. I love Terry McLaurin. I love Brian Robinson today. I think they strike the outright victory on the road.
I see points in this game, Joe. 50.5. You also take a look at Washington, who I do like their offense, but Austin Eckler finally coming back here healthy for a playoff run. That's an unbelievable third down acquisition where if the blitz is coming in, you can easily dump it off. Also, Marshawn Lattimore on the defensive side now gives a little bit of a boost to that defense under Dan Quinn. But this game is going to come down to one solution. It's Todd Bowles. He is a master at confusing young quarterbacks and bringing heat from all angles to keep the pressure on you. The question is going to be is if you get that pressure on Jaden, he's been fantastic at getting out of the pocket. Rush lane equity that you must stay in that lane because if you get out of it, he's going to exploit that. The one interesting thing I saw when he was going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, running left and right, doing all that damage. Same thing here when you saw that against the Atlanta Falcons. He said, okay, that was a big game. The following week they put him in. He got bone crushed in that pocket where they're like, you know what, we got a playoff game next weekend. You're coming out. I want to see if Todd Bowles really ramps up that heat because that could mean big plays on the outside from your guy, Terry McLaurin, getting one-on-one coverage deep down the field.
Look, I'll just say this quickly because it's important that people understand. Going against the house twice is dangerous. At least he knows what I'm talking about there.
Yep.
Twice. Yep. And I'll be honest with you, right? Going against the Eagles is one thing.
Right. I said reluctantly. I said reluctant.
He's fine with that, though. Going against Tampa Bay is an interesting move. Listen, I'm just saying, phone calls will be made. You know that.
It's possible. And to Donnie's point, it's a rematch of Week 1, right? That was Jaden Daniels' first start, 37-20.
Absolutely.
You talk about lane equity, right? Maintaining those gaps and not allowing and playing man-to-man coverage to allow Jaden Daniels to beat you with the legs. As good as he's been this year, 69% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Over the last 5 games during the win streak, he's averaged 68.6 rushing yards per game. He is taking games over with his legs. If Tampa Bay wins, they cannot allow Jaden Daniels to beat them with his legs tonight.
So, as I dove into this game, and you mentioned Week 1, and you're not going to put an outrageous amount of weight into the kid's opening start. But it did continue a trend of Tampa playing well against playoff teams and Washington not. The Bucs have that victory. They beat Philly, Detroit, L.A., hung with Kansas City, lost at overtime, didn't get the football, and the Ravens got them by 10. They also lost, like everybody, in that football game to injury. Washington has one win against a playoff team, and it was the Eagles who were without their starting quarterback for more than 3/4 of the game. They lost to Baltimore. They lost to Philly the first time. They lost at home to Pittsburgh, which is getting worse and worse as the Steelers kept playing football. I mean, that's the reality of it there. So I think a little bit when you line these teams up, it's not just that the Bucs are battle-tested from years prior. In season, Tampa's battle-tested. You go back to that game against the Chargers, I feel, at least, I think you might be the only person I know who actually took that game for what it was. Like, I feel like people went, whatever, Bucs won, move on. They destroyed that team. 40-17, I think, on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they smashed that football team, right? So I was always surprised when I saw this opening number. But as we get closer, it starts to make more sense because of what the Bucs' resume stacks up against Washington. These teams also just grade out oddly similarly in a lot of areas, efficiency, where their weaknesses even are. This is a very exciting game, but it's hard not to lean to the Bucs with everything that we've seen plus the prior experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And the difference this year compared to last year, they were a one-dimensional offense, right? We talked about 89 rushing yards per game. They were almost dead last in terms of the NFL. It had to beat Baker Mayfield doing it early and often, throwing for potentially 40 and 50 times per game with Mike Evans and Godwin stepping up. Flash forward to this year with the addition of Bucky Irvin and utilizing Rashad White. They have a dual-headed rushing attack that is averaging well over 130 yards on the ground. You talk about that game in terms of L.A. That was a first-half game where they were challenged, right? Bucky Irvin took that game over in the second half. They blew them off the line of scrimmage in terms of the physicality of the offensive line. When you look at this game today and you say, how does Washington win from a defensive perspective? Dante Fowler and Bobby Wagner need to have huge days today. They need to stuff those running lanes and force Baker into long third downs. If they can't do that, it's game on. It could look similar 37-20 because if you can't shut down the run, they could be exploited over the top.
Which is something you love to see from the Buccaneers. Typically with a Baker Mayfield-led and Mike Evans and Godwin, it's always been about the pass. They have a legitimate running game with a couple backs that they can rotate in there, and you're going to see Bucky Irving finally on that big stage getting that prime-time look when maybe he does get close to 20 carries in this one. The one thing you do want to bring up, though, about Tampa Bay, 2 of the last 3 weeks, yes, they smashed the Panthers, but also 2 non-playoff teams, Dallas Cowboys they lost to, they were hanging on for dear life against the Saints down double digits to a bad football team not playing much. So it's not as if they're world beaters, but if you are looking at big game Baker, he usually always performs. Like this one, Liam Cohen loved what he's done this year. Todd Bowles, a wonderful defensive coordinator. They are at home, and being at home means something. And again, as we talked about, one rookie quarterback is going to start today in Buffalo. The other one's going to start at night in another big game environment. Can those rookies step up to the table on the road against a team theoretically are better than them?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. One thing that did stand out to me was Washington's struggles against the run this season, and I thought that Bucky Irving would be the play.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, I mean, his rush attempts prop is 1 attempt less than Saquon's. Like, what? Come on, all right, let's hold on. I looked into Rachaad White. You know Rachaad White last week? No
Sneaky.
rush attempts, no targets. I love Rachaad
that's a
White.
leafy angle right
It
there.
is.
Todd Bowles.
Yes.
Todd Bowles goes, we got to
Like
get him
Corum style.
way more involved. And you know what today happens to be?
His birthday.
You better believe it. It is Rachaad White's birthday. I'm going right to the
was
lead.
out of
Well,
the
then, you know what?
City.
You got me because I took him plus 290 anytime touchdown. He's all the way down on the charts.
I took
People
his
down
rushing
there.
receiving at 28.5. Bowles this week did say, we got to get him the ball a little bit more because they're not going to run Bucky 25 times.
Right.
They're not. He's like, look, we got a little bit behind it. We pressed down on a couple of things. I think you'll see a couple of Rachaad carries early. But I wanted to take rushing plus receiving because I don't know how they're going to want to get him the football. He is still very valuable to them in pass protection. Look, maybe, again, a little cautious due to that fumble against Dallas, but ultimately expect Rachaad White on his birthday to get in the mix just a little bit. Vrabel, New England. What does that mean for the Patriots in the NFL draft? We'll talk about it next.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The wildest Sunday in football is here. Start your day at 8 a.m. with Fantasy Sports Today. Then at 10 a.m., Pro Football Today breaks down every angle before the triple header kicks off. Stay with In-Game Live as we chase those parlays, props, and live bets across all 3 wildcard showdowns. Don't miss a minute. Only on SportsGrid.
on Pro Football Today. If you missed it about an hour 15 ago, the New England Patriots made their move this offseason, hiring Mike Vrabel, the former head coach of the Tennessee Titans, now back in New England where he played for Bill Belichick for a number of years. The Patriot way. I am a little disappointed in the move. I think Vrabel is a good coach. I am not even sure he's going to be a letdown for the Patriots. I thought it was time for them to move on. I saw a rumor yesterday that the favorite for the offensive coordinator job is Josh McDaniels.
Bring it back.
Like, this can't be serious, Donnie.
Run it back. Look, that's the Patriot way at this point. They messed up because their owner got ahead of his, let's just say put the apple before the cart at this point. You're lining up a future franchise saying, I'm not getting any credit. This is my guy handpicked. And Belichick probably behind the scenes like, look, I wouldn't pick that guy to succeed me even if I leave at this point. Oh, yeah, watch this happen. I'm going to fire you, and I'm going to have him there. But to have him only in place for 1 year, and quite frankly, we always look at things in terms, Joe, of saying, he didn't get an opportunity, but it's what you do with that opportunity. The record sometimes doesn't matter. Like Jimmy Johnson was, 1-15 in his first season, stuck around with the Cowboys, made one of the biggest trades in history, and there you go, multiple-time Super Bowl champion. But it's how you held yourself accountable in front of your team, how you handle the press, and what your day-to-day priorities are. And they were completely out of whack, and they pulled the plug on it right away and went to maybe one of the guys, you guys, I don't think you have to worry about, Joe. You know what you're getting out of Vrabel. And again, a ton of cap space they're going to spend. Great draft positioning here. I see this as a work in progress, but my expectation, not next year, the following year, the Patriots are back in the playoffs.
Yeah, steady, right?
Yeah.
Consistency. Yep. That's what they wanted, I believe, when they hired Mike Vrabel. Now, do I believe Gerard Mayo should have been fired? Absolutely not. Just because, to your point, Kev, again, what did you expect in terms of a complete rebuild? You knew that Bill Belichick potentially at the end of his career ran that program and organization into the ground. You had no speed in terms of the wide receiver position. Guys like DeMario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, I mean, they're just pedestrian at best. Hunter Henry and the tight ends were the best option for Drake May in that offense. You had to develop a rookie quarterback. You start week number 1 and you knock off a playoff contender in terms of Cincinnati as a 7.5, 8-point underdog. That's good, right? I mean, you knocked off the Buffalo Bills, the team that won the AFC East. You covered against both games against the Bills this year. You beat them at home in your place, and you covered as a 14.5-point road dog in Orchard Park. What do they expect? I mean, it's unfortunate. But again, Mike Vrabel is the consistent coach that, he's a winner. He was a Super Bowl champ. He got his team to an AFC championship. They wanted more consistency. Kraft obviously pulled the trigger and wanted Vrabel. This is the guy I want. And now they're going to have to live and die with it, and we'll see if they get back to the playoffs.
So the interesting thing now is we look at the NFL draft, the top 5, Titans, his former team, Browns, Giants, and his New England Patriots. It's rounded out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you think about, well, how could this draft fall, right? And what is Mike Vrabel going to New England potentially mean? He started his time in Tennessee early, in the first round. They often were selecting defensive players, sometimes on the offensive line. Mike Vrabel has never had a top 5 draft choice. I think he maybe had one pick inside the top 10, if I'm looking at this. I think his highest was 11th. He's never even picked in the top 10 when you think about it. So is Mike Vrabel's MO going to be Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks at the offensive line? Is it Abdul Cardle, Mikael Williams off the edge? Is it a trade back? Is he willing to Travis Hunter if that's on the board? Do you feel right now, Lisi, that Vrabel coming in changes the New England decision-making at all?
Yeah, possibly, because, again, when you have a coach like Mike Vrabel, right, disciplined and obviously wants to coach it from the inside out, a little bit like Mike Tomlin, what do you want to do? You want to sustain the offense and defensive lines, right? You want to protect the quarterback, and you want to obviously shut down the run and get after the quarterback. So does he go, like you said, in terms of Williams from Georgia, right? That dominant edge rusher. We've seen Georgia players translate. Just look at the Philadelphia Eagles. You have half their roster right there with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Nakobe Dean, right? I mean, the list goes on and on. So I believe he would pick either an offensive lineman or a defensive edge rusher in terms of that, or maybe a game changer in Travis Hunter. But the only way they're going to win, Donnie, and challenge the likes of Josh Allen and Buffalo and Kansas City and some of the better teams in the AFC is if you have speed on the perimeter. You need home run hitters to put up points with Drake May. Otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah, by the way, T. Higgins probably just going to be planted right in New England as they've been trying to get him for a few years now. He's going to be a free agent, but they do have a lot of money to spend. But also understand this. It's fun to have a lot of money to spend, but also you need a complete new team. This is probably the least talented roster in the NFL. So when you look at that number 4 overall spot, if you're a piece away or maybe just had a down season and all the pieces are there, you just need an extra cornerback or a pass rusher, that makes sense. But for me, if I'm Vrabel, now I'm looking long term. I think you have the ear of the organization. You have a lot of say in this. Build this roster the right way, the way you see fit, which means trading out, picking up a couple extra third-round picks, a couple extra second-round picks. You're not 1 or 2 players away. They'll spend money in the offseason, and rightfully so, to get some of the key ingredients. But when you're looking at this young influx of talent, they don't have a lot of it. Stack those draft picks up over the next couple of years, spend the money wisely in free agency, and away you go.
Yeah, I think that, if they're gonna sit there, right, I don't think what we would have projected them to do is going to be much different based on who Vrabel is, kind of matches the talent that will be on the board. But I am so fascinated by the Travis Hunter situation, if you will, that I wonder, would Mike Vrabel be willing to let him play both ways? I was talking to someone yesterday who, kind of in relation to the Giants is like, I don't want to hear anything about that offensive stuff. Like, we could use a shutdown corner. That'd be great. And it's like, okay, he doesn't want that. Like, Travis Hunter wants to be Travis Hunter, which means playing both sides of the football. And, I know we got into it a little bit yesterday, Donnie, around the Shedeur Sanders end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Shedeur's like, look, ultimately I'll go be a franchise quarterback anywhere. I think Travis, even more than Shedeur, is like, I am not coming if you think I am just going to guard Jamar Chase. I am here to guard Chase and beat Chase. And if the Patriots or the Browns or the Giants aren't willing to do that, I think he's going to make some moves.
I don't know. Look, you're going to go where you're getting drafted at this point here, and specifically with Hunter. Who knows if he's going to be a wideout, and that's what he wants to be, if he wants to be a defender. But I do think he does have value to splice him in and say, we're going to give you packages on either side of the football. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think he wants packages called I start on both sides of the football. Sunday morning crunch around the corner.
Two guys that can do it all. It's
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to be copy-paste. Books are, not good. Win total's a tick too low. Knock it right over. Make playoff price tick too juicy. Bang it out. Postseason comes around on a tee. Knock their heads off.
I don't think the Steelers organization just makes a move to make a move. They have to have, it's like being in the book. You have to know what you're going to move the line to.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The wildest Sunday in football is here. Start your day at 8 a.m. with Fantasy Sports Today. Then at 10 a.m., Pro Football Today breaks down every angle before the triple header kicks off. Stay with In-Game Live as we chase those parlays, props, and live bets across all 3 wildcard showdowns. Don't miss a minute. Only on SportsGrid.
Sunday morning crunch time right here on SportsGrid. Let's waste no time and get right into it. All right, let's waste a little time here. Lacey, how we feeling heading into the crunch?
Feeling good. I'm a little hungry. I wish we had a little spread set up.
Bagels? Anybody bring bagels?
I brought bagels.
Now,
today.
do you eat bagels?
No, I had a little whole.
Did you?
I did. I had
Wow.
a cheddar cheese omelet this morning, and I felt like I needed a little something.
Carb.
Little carb, a little whole wheat
All right,
bagel.
yeah.
Now put that egg on that bagel. Delicious.
Oh, it is. It's
great
probably-
call.
Yeah,
meal.
great call.
It's a great call by Donnie.
It is.
No surprise
Donnie
there.
has all the answers.
Yeah, you'd be
He does.
surprised.
He does.
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
You'd be surprised.
Beyond the years.
I heard yesterday from someone, Donnie, say, we give Lacey too much of a hard time during this crunch.
Wow. Was
I
that
heard
you?
No, it wasn't.
Who said that?
It's not me. Viewers, they say. They love to sell me something segment.
I mean,
I was dead on yesterday.
By
I
the
was
way,
dead.
hold on. People were betting Collins out there and taking L's instead of Collins. So
They're grading it as a loss.
Where's this at?
It's all right.
All
Today
right,
we're
Lacey,
gonna
what do you
nail it.
got for the people?
All right, so we'll start in the
Wow,
game in
something
terms
hard.
of we'll
All right.
start in the game in Green Bay. I believe Jordan Love, even though he hasn't stepped up over the last 5 weeks, will break out today. I know it's the number 1 ranked defense in terms of Philadelphia. Philadelphia's strong. Philly's going to roll. We got the 2 homers here back in the Eagles in terms of this matchup. I believe Jordan Love throws for at least 250 in regards to this matchup. Give me over the 212.5. Right. I think he exploits Cooper DeJean and that defense over the top to run it with Josh Jacobs on going over Jordan Love. And then Jaden Reed. We talk about Jaden Reed over the last 7 weeks, non-existent. He's supposedly the number 1 in terms of this offense. 43.5. I think he could break out over 60, 70 plus. I think he hits pay dirt as well. Give me Jordan Reed. And then in the night game, I think this game is an under. I think if Washington wins, they need Brian Robinson in the rushing attack to take some of the pressure off of Jaden Daniels. Going on the road, 44.5, guys. A low number. I think B-Rob breaks out with a huge performance
It makes
tonight.
sense with the correlation, Love and Reed, right? You get an over 217.5. Chances are he's going to be your dominant target out there and not even needing the 70, 80, 90 yards that you see at some top-level wide receivers. So some cheap. Now, I'm going to get to mine here. As the most unbiased man on the set here, it's up to me to go against the Patriots. I'm going against the Patriots today. It's because I'm unbiased, right? So let's get after it. Let's take a look here at the crunch. Devonta Smith over 20.5 as his longest reception prop. The reason why I like this and didn't go with his total numbers here is because I do think that box is going to be stacked here. Saquon's going to get a lot of carries, which we'll get to in just a few moments. You're looking for those 1 or 2 shots downfield to get that. I think he's going to be able to get that in. I love that price at 20.5. Also, Saquon Barkley to roughly get 20 carries, listed at 19.5. Took that a little bit earlier in the week. It's probably slightly higher today, but I think he gets the 23, the 24, the 25 carries. He was rested for a reason, and he's going to be motivated entering into this game to prove to everybody once again, if I would have played against the Giants, I would have ran for a lot more yards. He's getting over 20 carries today. In the final one, the Philadelphia Eagles rushing touchdowns over 1.5. Why do I like that? I think Saquon Barkley scores, but the last thing I want to see is on that 1 yard line repeatedly where Jalen Hurts gets multiple touchdown opportunities. I want to make sure I cash in on that ticket. That was a plus 100 price for them to get 2 rushing touchdowns. The Philadelphia Eagles, the most dominant offensive team today, will be on the ground and also deep shots in the air.
Juicy.
It's a great card. It's a great card.
Maybe the best we've ever seen.
Oh, you don't like my card, huh?
Well, I'm thinking I think I might do under Love 217.5 for my crunch.
At least you had a 212 though. Wasn't
I saw
either.
that. Well, I did put it in last night though too.
Under Jaden Reed for me 43.5.
Okay.
Under Brian Robinson.
All right.
You ever been shut out on a crunch before?
No.
Team total
I don't
under.
believe so. I'm pretty sure if he at least one on every card. But I think I'm going to hit all 3 tonight, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know I'm on the right side.
You see that?
I
You
do.
see how the volume gets turned up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, when you're outnumbered and you stay in your ground, I'm not going anywhere. Not my first rodeo.
Oh, so you were forced into that.
No, not forced.
Sounds like it was
All
spike
right.
picks.
All right. No, all right. Josh Allen, longest rush over 13.5. Similar situation to Lamar Jackson. They didn't move Lamar's number considering it was the postseason. They should have. They didn't move Josh Allen's considering it was the postseason. They should have. Over this in 4 of 5 against postseason teams this year. Over this in 7 of 10 of his NFL playoff career. Look for Josh Allen to move on the ground today against Denver. Look for Josh Jacobs to do the same thing against the Philadelphia Eagles. The actual most unbiased man in the history of sports media gives you a pick on Josh Jacobs there because Green Bay likes to run the football. The Eagles have given up a few explosive runs. It's hard to consistently gain on them, but you can get some chunk plays like Jacobs did in that Week 1 battle, and then Devonta Smith for 60-plus receiving yards. We've seen the Packers struggle against wide receiver twos, and Devonta Smith is one of the very best at that position in football. We'll talk to NFL insider Adam Kaplan next.